So who are you?
I'm Batman.
I'm Batman.
I am Batman.
I'm Batman.
I never had to say I'm Batman. I showed up. People knew I was Batman.
Enough said. Let's get into it. Hello and welcome to another video here at Movie Mash. And today we're going to talk about The Batman. Yes, The Batman is finally here, and I saw it yesterday and I thought, yep, it's time for a review. Now, before I get into it, please hit the like and subscribe button down below. It only takes a second, makes a big deal to this channel, but it ain't going to take you long to do. Now, let's get into this. So, The Batman. Sorry, I can't help it. Yeah, starring Robert Pattinson, Kid Twilight, or Sparkles himself. We got John Toronto. We got Paul Dano, Zoe Kravitz, and Andy Serkis. Now, great cast. So, what's it about? Right, so Batman basically, it's not quite an origin story like Batman Begins was, but it's he's still new at it. He's only been doing it for, we'll say, a couple of years or so, and I don't think he feels he's making a big difference. But then we've got a new foe in town, the Riddler. Now, the Riddler, he's kind of not like your average Jim Carrey Riddler like on the previous ones. This is more of a sinister, evil type guy, dark and pretty bad. And he's more like, what would you say? He's been compared to the Zodiac. If you've seen the film or know the character, and also along with Seven, it's got that feel to it. And this film is more of a detective story, a Sherlock Holmes, a kind of a young kind of Batman learning his feet and making a big difference in the world. And along the way, he comes across Catwoman, and we got Penguin, and he's getting into the underworld. He's still making mistakes. He's not the full-on Batman knows everything, got a contingency plan for everything. He's still learning, and it shows. Now, I don't want to say too much because, you know, people are going to go and see it, but that's pretty much the story. Now, there's a lot of turns and twists in it, so, you know, and a lot of this and that. But what I will say is, there wasn't as much action in it as I thought there would be. That's not a bad thing. There's plenty of action. When it kicks in, it's pretty good. But a lot of people are going to expect a lot of action. I wouldn't. But when it does happen, it's pretty decent. But let's get into the positives anyway. I wanted to see this for a long time. A lot of people, when Kid Twilight, Robert Pattinson was... I actually walked out of Twilight, the first movie. I'd never seen the rest. I walked out in the movie, and to sum it all up, I now have gone to see a film for nearly 3 hours long starring Robert Pattinson. Now, when I first heard he was going to be Batman, I don't know why, but I actually thought he would, for some reason, I've seen other things with him in, I actually thought he would bring his A game in this. I had a feeling. He got a lot of backlash, but I think most of the Batmans did, apart from Christian Bale maybe. A lot of them got backlash, but he got quite a lot because of Twilight and Kid Sparkles. A lot of people don't know what he's done since then. He's fucking brilliant. He's really good. I had a feeling he would be. He was actually better than I thought. He was absolutely bang on. Now, a lot of people may disagree, but so far as I know, everyone's pretty happy with the way he's done it, and it's really good. Now, all the acting all along was stellar. You've got a really good cast here, and you've got some really strong actors. Now, Zoe Kravitz, I've quite liked her, apart from she's extremely hot. I quite liked her from the X-Men film, and I've seen her in a few other bits and pieces, and also with Mad Max Fury Road. I quite liked her on that. But this is probably the biggest part I've ever seen in her, and I was a bit concerned that when I seen the trailers and the Catwoman involved, that it may overshadow Batman. You know, I didn't want it to be a Catwoman film, even though I didn't mind her in it. I wanted it to be more about Batman, and I was really concerned. And the more I seen in the trailers, despite how good they look, I was, are we going to see a Catwoman film, Rob? But no. She was in it, and she had a great part in it, but she didn't take over. She wasn't better than him. She wasn't smarter than him. She was just perfect. She helped him along. You don't need to know too much if you haven't seen it. This is a spoiler-free review, but she was bang on. And I don't know if she's the best Catwoman. I mean, Catwoman to me is Michelle Pfeiffer and stuff, but she had a great part, and she held her own against Batman. And I will say that I give her 10 out of 10 for her character, and she didn't steal nothing away from it, and she owned the screen when she was on it. Now, John Toronto, he's an actor I've seen. I quite like him actually, but he's a kind of an actor that when you hear he's going to play Falcone, Falcone, I was a bit like, okay, I'm sure he can do it because I've seen him do dramatic, but most of them know from doing silly kind of like, you know, comic relief on Transformers, and I didn't want that, and I'm sure we're going to have another Falcone. No, he was quite menacing. He did a really good job, very good. It wasn't overly too much, but he was in it, and he was very serious. He was really good. That's all I can say. I don't want to say too much about his involvement, but all you know is he's got an important part in this film. Now, we got, what's his name? Andy Serkis. My precious. Gollum himself. Yeah, he seemed like a perfect choice. Like, I mean, he's an English actor. He's pretty tough. He's been around the block. I think Matt Reeves was on him with, what was it, Planet of the Apes, or one of the 8 movies. And I actually really like him as an actor, but his part is very minimal on this. It's not as much as I thought, but what he was on, I thought he was really good. And I mean, what else? He's one of the best actors out there as far as I'm concerned, especially when it comes to doing monkeys and stuff. Now, I want to say about Paul Dano. Paul Dano, I've seen him on a few things, and he kind of seemed like the right choice for this film, to be honest. And yeah, he plays that kind of creepy. Even though the Riddler was on it quite a lot, I didn't feel that Paul Dano was on it much at all. Which I suppose it helps towards the sinister part of it. Like, if you have seen the film Seven, you don't really see is it Kevin Spacey towards the end. You see glimpses of him and stuff like that, so it helped towards it. So, but Paul Dano, when you see his face and he's on it, perfect. He's really good. Good choice. A lot of people are moaning about the design of the costume. Didn't bother me so much. I mean, we're going for more... I mean, if he was in spandex, kind of wouldn't have looked right for this film. And they want to go for this kind of, yeah, Seven looks. The Seven, what's the other one? Zodiac. I'm freezing on it. So, that's it. Now, I want to go to Jeffrey Wright. Jeffrey Wright is a really good actor. And have you ever seen the fact... Would you ever think that he could beat up Batman?
I come back later. Put this in your ass.
That was Shaft. That was the first time I ever saw him as on Shaft, and I've seen him over the years. I always thought he was a good actor. I loved him on Bond as Felix Leiter, and his relationship on this, I didn't think you could get better than Gary Oldman's relationship, and that was a really good one, but it felt like they were more established on this. They were really good together, and they trusted each other. So it was well established, and it was a really good... Jeffrey Wright owned it. I mean, when I first heard he was going to be Commissioner Gordon, I was up for it anyway, because I thought he could do it. I knew he could do it. Now, Colin Farrell, the unrecognizable guy. This guy was every shot and every scene he was in, he stole it from everyone. Absolutely everyone. I mean, I heard that he hadn't had a big part on this, and it wasn't a huge major role, but he was in it quite regular. And I will be honest with you, I heard the other day there's going to be a spin-off. Now, I don't know if it's really going to happen, but it's from a reliable source. And I'm like, okay, but I could definitely watch that. He was absolutely perfect. It just shows his acting and his range. He was unrecognizable, but his personality, sometimes you'd think like he'd come through, but it never came through. He was the Penguin. He was this completely other person. You could have thought he was Robert De Niro in behind that. He was great. The score, it was done by a guy called Michael Giacchino. I don't know if I've said that right. It was amazing. It was absolutely brilliant. It went well with the film. It's one of the best scores I've heard throughout the film, and it was used really well. It was one of the best scores I've heard in such a long time. I mean, I've heard some okay ones. This was highly up there. This was up there along with Tim Burton's. Danny Elfman score. As far as I'm concerned, it was that good. It was perfect. I can't. Yeah, all these superhero films, they're not getting the scores like they had with Superman and the original Batman, Tim Burton's, Danny Elfman. So I would say, to me, this was better than Hans Zimmer's score from The Dark Knight, which was really good, by the way. But I'm going to say this is definitely a lot better than that. Now, the cinematography. This film was shot. It felt like, apart from the acting and the story, it felt like Matt Reeves' most important part of this film was making it look good. And he did not fuck up on that. It looks amazing. I felt like it was a lot of brown tinted lens, like Batman Begins. I felt that was a bit of a brown tinted lens. It looked amazing. All the shots were just cinematic. The whole thing, it looked great, and he kept it. I noticed that most 99.9 time of the film is at night. I suppose, and it's fitting for a Batman. Gotham looked great. It looked, and a lot of people saying, I heard, that Gotham is like a character of its own. And to be honest with you, the city did feel like a character of its own. And yeah, it's perfect. Looks great. It's, what can I say? You'll see. Right, on to negatives. And the negatives of this film, for me, are just little nitpicks. And I wouldn't even say like they take nothing away. It's just my opinion on something. And I need to watch it again to really, really pay attention to what's going on. I can't wait to do that, by the way. So, I would like to have seen Bruce Wayne differ from Batman. It felt like he was Batman. He was broody. He was very moody. Kind of a bit of a chip on his shoulder, you could say, even when he wasn't Batman. You know, we didn't see the playboy billionaire. Now, in fairness, we didn't see a lot of Bruce Wayne, which was nice, you know, as it was more about Batman. But what I was saying is that it's just, in fairness, yeah, he's still beginning, and he's still finding his place and his roots, and he's putting his feet down, and maybe that's the reason why. But I'd like to have seen more of a difference between him and Batman. But it felt like Bruce Wayne all the time when we see him was Batman. Now, there is three kind of Bruce Waynes or Batmans. As you've got Batman himself, you've got Bruce Wayne at home with Alfred, and then you've got Bruce Wayne when he's out. And when he was out, it felt like he was Batman. Do you know what I mean? So, but again, Robert Pattinson, he is a smashing actor. He really is. He brought this. I can't keep saying it enough, but he is Kid Twilight no more. He is now Batman. Now, the runtime. The runtime is just under 3 hours. And it used the 3 hours really well. It was paced pretty decently. And I don't think there was a scene, a shot, a moment that was wasted. But for me, it was a tad too long. Now, maybe it's because I was in the cinema and I was getting pissed off at people walking in and out. And that it was happening quite a lot. This is Batman. What the fuck are you doing? Yeah. But that was getting on my nerves. And it might have something to do with that. And I'd like to watch it when I'm at home, when it's out and available to watch. So I might change my mind. Again, those are only nitpicks, because I have very little to say or put down about this film. It was that good. Now, I just want to say one last thing before I go, that this film was brilliant. Yes. Now, I'm going to do I'm in the Batman mood now, so I'm going to do tomorrow. I'm going to start with Batman 1989 and Batman Returns, and I'm going to do review them all. But I want to say I haven't made up my mind how I felt about the ending of this movie. I'm still on the fence. I need to watch it again. They took a creative choice to do. And people who've seen it will know I'm talking about, and people who will go and see it will know I'm talking about. They've done something at the end, and I'm not sure if I like it or I don't, yeah? But we'll know anyway in the future. But I'll watch it again and see how it goes. But for me, this film was one of the best Batman films you can get. They used the detective side more than anything else, and that's who Batman is. For people who don't know, Batman is supposed to be the world's greatest detective. And on this, he is a detective more than he's Batman. But when he time to kick ass, he kicks the fuck out of people. And it's really good. Oh, just one more thing. In this country, in the UK, it's a 15 rating, which I was very surprised about that. Batman 15? It must be pretty violent. And I don't think it needed to be. It just didn't feel any more violent than Batman Begins or The Dark Knight. You know, it just didn't. It didn't feel any more violent than that. So I think maybe the rating of that was a bit too high. I don't know. Maybe they'll change their mind. Maybe that will change. I don't know. But I do remember Batman when it came out in 1989. I was a kid, and it was the first film that I know in the UK that was ever a 12. And when it came on to VHS, it was a 15, and I couldn't understand. I wasn't allowed to take it out. But this film is a 15, so whoever's going to see it, make sure you check if you're bringing kids, because, you know, plus it is a bit dark and it's a bit long-winded, but I just don't think it needed to have that 15 rating, because even though it has spooky and some bad things on it, it doesn't feel any worse than The Dark Knight was, if you know what I mean. It just didn't feel worse than that. So for me, I just thought it didn't need to be. But that's not the film's fault. It's the rating system's fault. But anyway, what did you think of this film? Did you like it? Did you hate it? Are you going to see it? Can you wait to see it? Or do you think it was shit? Please let me know in the comments below. And as I said, like and subscribe. But for now, and until next time.
Whoa, take it easy, sweetheart. Hear everything they say, ain't you?
Maybe we're not so different. Who are you under there?